Insidious is now hitting its fifth film. And I got a lot to talk about. Let's jump into the review of Insidious, The Red Door. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're going to be reviewing the new film Insidious, The Red Door, which is available right now in theaters. Yes, this is the fifth film of this franchise, and I will say that at one point I stood on this hill in saying Insidious is the best horror franchise to date, and it has absolutely lost a lot of steam. And honestly, this film really didn't help. There was parts about it I liked. There was parts about it that I really didn't care for. There was things they did well. There was things that they kind of tweaked from previous films. But nonetheless, this one definitely wasn't the fitting ending of this franchise that I was expecting. And like, that's kind of in the air because the end credits scene kind of leaves you thinking, okay, they're gonna do something else. But the word is that this would be the fifth and final film of this franchise. And well, I hate to say it, but good. But let's talk about the important thing here. The important thing to me, I think, is this kid, now young adult, and Ty Simpkins, who has been Dalton since the beginning, and seeing him pretty much as a teenager. He's just going to college in this. Just seeing him kind of grow over the years in terms of being on screen and in terms of just really developing his character, having us connect with this character. That was the underrated gem of this film, is that you felt what Dalton was feeling in this film, because it wasn't just something that was relevant to this film. It was actually the bigger arc in everything, honestly. And there's a lot of different things that kind of went on over these films, but I think really understanding the trauma that Dalton had to go through all these years and how he's kind of been processing it while still existing in a teenage life, getting ready to go to college, like, that's a lot. And well, this film, there was moments where he crumbled, and that's to be expected. But like, beyond that, Ty's been kind of killing it. He was in The Whale, which was probably my favorite film of 2022. And he's been around for other films, but like, just really seeing him kind of grow in his career. This was the rewarding, fitting ending reward for me in this. If anything, not even the overall story of Insidious. It was really about Dalton gets revenge, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it's we start at a point of this film where we see Dalton and his dad. Obviously, Patrick Wilson is the director of this film as well too. But Patrick Wilson is back as Josh. We see them 9 years earlier to the current date of the two of them being hypnotized to suppress 1 year of their life, the traumatic year of their life. As we know, this picking up after what happened in the previous film, where we know Josh was out trying to kill his family. So they suppressed that whole thing so that they could move on, and everybody around them felt that was the right thing to do. But when it comes down to family secrets, especially when folks start to really unravel some of the things that were happening, that doesn't always go as planned. It's one of those things where it's like, I think this is the best for the moment, but don't think about the ramifications once these folks find the truth. And again, this is an interesting arc for Dalton, because as he's getting ready to enter college, he's an art student. That's already a very pivotal point of his life, but it's also a very traumatizing point in his life where he's out on his own, and he's trying to fit into this world, and there's a lot of responsibilities. He's going to meet folks. Which, by the way, this character Chris, that's played by Sinclair Danielle, is easily my favorite character of this. But like, he meets Chris. She is such a charismatic but yet blunt character that really throws Dalton off his guard. Dalton is very much an introvert. Dalton is very much still, again, discovering life. And well, Chris isn't having that. Chris is like, well, tell me all your tea, tell me all of your secrets, you know. So that gets him to come out of his shell a little bit. But along with that too, things are triggering things, which is counterproductive to the hypnotism. So things are starting to unlock that compartmentalized year of his life that they wanted to prevent him from ever, reconnecting with. Same things happening with Josh. So you got these two folks, and granted, this father-son relationship is non-existent, but yet they realize they're going to need each other more than they ever could expect. Because again, as they are starting to get little trigger points from that year of things that they were trying to suppress, that leads them into one another. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, there's also another little interesting arc with Josh, because Josh is also processing his childhood trauma with his absent dad. So it's like this chain of things within his family that just keeps happening, because while Josh is trying to be there for Dalton, but it's just not quite working. By the way, Dalton has a brother. This character is the most irrelevant character. And we know Dalton has a brother, but let's just make it very clear. Foster is completely irrelevant in this film. It's the son that they don't care about, if you ask me. But enough with the plot stuff. Like, the jump scares worked. Things are constantly lurking in the background, which has always been something that this franchise has done very, very well. But they didn't do enough of that in this, if you ask me. But yeah, you take a look in the background, you're bound to see something that looks like something that could be something that probably is going to come get you in a couple of scenes later. But they do all that, so yes, it's very creepy. You get the chills. But beyond that too, they did take a very long point of just dealing with the horrors of like the surrealism and trauma. I think they focused on that instead of the supernatural stuff. So like that was a little bit different than what they used to, but it did work. And again, because Dalton, a character we've been seeing for so long to connect with, you really do connect with everything that he's experiencing. You know, his resentment towards his dad, his inability to connect with folks, and then him tapping into his art skill, which is tapping into a whole nother thing. And then the art is channeling things that he's not really sure where it's coming from, as his art teacher is being really demanding in terms of, you need to go to a dark place in order to let this artistry work. And well, that wasn't the right thing to do with somebody who's really compartmentalizing something that was very traumatic and demonic, should we say. But with that being said, this film had a ton of power outages. Thus a lot of low light shots, and as they still do all their astral projecting, and other folks are starting to get involved with that, other folks who can't do it are getting involved with that, it gets interesting. It tells a story that definitely keeps you interesting to a point, but sometimes it feels a little bit drugged out. But I didn't mind it, because I just think this franchise has really been more good than bad. This just didn't feel like a very fitting ending. It felt very so-so, and yes, there's some heart in it. Yes, there's moments where you really feeling for Josh and feeling for Dalton as they're trying to work on their relationship. And by the way, Josh and his antics also landed him in a separation, so that's also kind of on his lap, as well too. And yeah, you feel for these characters that we've been on this ride with them a long time. Elise is in the film. As we know, Elise is always up to something, so Elise being a part of this absolutely brings a level of but I will say Elise has a very, very fitting positioning in the end of this film that just makes so many more questions, but it just works for the film. So like seeing Lynn reprise her role as Elise, it was really well done. I enjoyed that. Always enjoyed that character, and I think that fantastic actor too. But I think the sort of cameo position of what she has in this was done very well. Again, stayed through all the way through the credits, because there is a little stinger that does start to have you wonder what is next. Because again, they said this was the fifth and final, but who knows? And I think it all really does depend on the type of money it brings in. But this film kind of really snuck up in there, in a already a year of big films. This film just kind of comes out of nowhere, and I think the loyalists are going to go check it out, but I don't think they promoted this good at all, and I think it's really going to suffer from that. But even with that being said, the theme of this film was, close the red door for good, which I think is really a fitting yet almost a symbolic catchphrase in order to close the red door, close this franchise for good. And maybe that is what they need to do. Maybe that is what they need to do. So I don't know, but nonetheless, it's in theaters right now, folks. Go check out Insidious, The Red Door if you have already, or if you plan on doing it. Get in the comments, let me know your thoughts. Let us know your thoughts about the Lamberts and their entire ride. Is these 5 films of just some really good horror films, and I think overall you have to talk about this franchise amongst the best of them. I don't think it is the best, like I once stood on that hill, but it definitely was always, from each film, continue to just grow your investment and interest. And I think this one, if you've been on the ride, you're kind of like, yeah, I need to see how this is all going to end. And I will say once again, I do not feel overly pleased by the ending. I yet actually think we do need one more just to kind of get it right. But if they didn't, then I'm fine with that as well too, because this just wasn't it for me. But yeah, jump in the comments, folks. Let me know your thoughts about it. And as always, stay tuned for more reviews very soon.